Hello and welcome to Daily Mirror Online. I'm Easwaran Rutnam and this is On Fire. Our guest today led Sri Lanka to its only World Cup win, and today he's an active politician and a former minister. Arjuna, Ranatunga, welcome to Daily Mirror Online.
Thank you very much.
So you brought glory for Sri Lanka in 1996 by winning the Cricket World Cup. Yet today you are very much active in politics. Do you have any regrets looking back at your role as a politician?
I didn't win the World Cup alone. I won with another 13 very competitive and very honest cricketers who gave their fullest support when I captained the 96 side. And after that, when I took into politics, my ambition was to try and help people, which I saw from my younger days, how my father used to work with people in the Gampa district and especially in the Binongode electorate. The commitment he had, the sacrifices he did, that is the main reason that I had a slightest thinking of getting into politics. I was the least who was keen on getting into politics in my family, but ultimately the former President Chandrika Bandaranayake is the one who dragged me into politics, and from that day I have been in the parliament for last 19 years.
And why have you chosen the UNP now?
No, I was a SLFP. I was with Mrs. Bandaranayake for a fairly long period, and after that, when Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa took over, I was with the party for several years till the war was over. I never liked the policies and the attitude which Rajapaksa regime ran the country. But I couldn't leave the party, or I didn't want to leave the party till the war was over. And I was in the back seat. I resigned from my ministry. And I was keen on getting into cricket. That was my main ambition. I was very keen on helping the up and coming cricketers and to have a vision for the future. But none of them gave me opportunity to do that. And then I resigned, and I was a backbencher for a pretty long period. But as soon as the war was over, I decided that I had to be independent, work with a group, try to get everyone together, look at the future Sri Lankan policies. I think that is why I joined UNP very recently after the issue we had a problem with the party. I was elected by UNP in the last election, especially with close to 170,000 votes I was given by the Gampa people. Knowing that I was a SLFP, but the UNP has supported me. So I decided that, especially in the crucial timing, that I had to be part of the system, I had to be part of the party, try to get the party into the next level. And I was invited by the former Prime Minister and the present leader of the party to join the party for several years. But I thought I took a decision to get involved, especially at the very crucial time.
And this issue on the leadership of the UNP is something that has been spoken about over and over again. Don't you think it's time that the UNP needs to have a new leader?
The thing is that you need to have a leader to replace the present leader. I can't see we have anyone who can replace Mr. Vikram Singh at the moment, looking at his capability and the capacity as a leader. I think it is easier to say that I can be the leader, I should be the leader, but ultimately it is, I always feel that there are two sides. One is that you have to be part of the system, you have to be popular in the party. In the meantime, the most important thing is whether that particular person can run a country. That is very, very crucial. I'm a great believer. I always do politics looking at the country rather than the individuals. I'm a person who doesn't worship politicians. I always speak on the right manners, right things. But when I had to, with answering your question, I personally feel that we have little more time. I think when the time comes, if we can, I'm sure that Mr. Vikram Singh, if he sees a important person who can handle the party and the country, I'm sure that he will step down, but I can't see anyone who can take over at the moment.
But he has lost consecutive elections. What if someone were to say, look, the people don't really have faith in him to lead the country?
I think he won an election in 2015 with Mr. Maithripala Sirisena, and I think he's a tactician. That is the important factor. I personally feel Mr. Wickramasinghe is a one who will look at the party and getting into power rather than thinking of his own political agenda. Now I've been working with him for last 2.5 years. I'm quite impressed the way he handled things as a minister. He was advised and given proper advice how to handle some of the ministries. And whenever I have to speak out, he has time to listen. And I have convinced him on several occasions when the party or when the government was trying to do something which I felt it was not the right thing. And that is why I always say that the leaders should listen to people, but they need to take the right decision at the right time. I'm sure that Mr. Wickramasinghe is a leader which I have been associating for last 4.5 years. The only other person I respect as a top leader is Mrs. Chandrika Bandaranayake.
And how has your decision affected, in the sense, decision to back Mr. Wickramasinghe, affected your relationship with your brothers, since some of them are, pro-SLFP?
I think we have given an open mandate by my mother when my father was alive that we couldn't do a lot of changes. Even I was not very happy with some of the things happening with the government. I couldn't leave the government, I couldn't leave the party because I didn't want to hurt my father. And there were occasions that I was trying to not cross over, I think to step down and stay away from the party and the government. But I had a lot of discussions with my late father, and he really insists that I should be part of the system. And even I was very unhappy with some of the decisions I have taken, but I always felt that the way he looked after us as kids when we lost everything, that I couldn't hurt him and go into different agendas. So I had to listen to him. But when he passed away, I took my own decisions. One thing is, my mother is very open as far as our decisions are concerned. He allows us to do whatever we want to do, but it has to be proper politics. I know that he has scolded me. He has scolded Prasanna several times. I think that's the way my mother looked at us as her own children, doing the right thing. Whenever we do something wrong, she will come and even slap us.
So let's say the UNP loses this election, would you still continue to be in the system, or are you thinking of doing something else?
Now, tell you honestly, I was not very keen to contest this time. I decided actually when I was one person who was trying to get this party together, but I worked really hard with the former speaker, Mr. Karu Jayasuriya, trying to keep both sides, get both sides into one direction, but it was very unfortunate that the party, we couldn't do that. Then I decided that it's time for me to take a break, maybe look at my own personal things, like I haven't written my own biography. I thought I'll spend maybe about a year writing my own biography, spend little time with my two big children. And then when the crisis came, it was so unfortunate, a lot of people left the UNP and went. And then I took a decision, okay, let's work with the party, get the party into the next level. My ambition is to form a government. I know that we will have a tough time this year, but by 2025, I'm very sure if we get together, we can still bring UNP into power.
Have you given up on your attempts to unite the party?
No, we still do. Actually, I have spoken to all the top leaders. There were times that we came into understandings, but I know there are different sources where they were looking at breaking the parties and getting into positions. A lot of people, the worst part is in this political thing, some of these young guys are looking at positions and getting into the top very quickly. That is, they are not bothered about their party or their supporters. They have only their own agenda, where how I'm going to go to the top. I think that is where the UNP has suffered through some of these politicians who left the party.
And there is a lot being said about the Hambantota port. You were once Minister of Ports and Shipping. Do you think the decision taken to hand over the Hambantota port to China was the right move?
No, it was given earlier. Before we came, it was given into one of the Chinese companies, and after that we had different meetings with the two Chinese companies. And when I was handling it properly, like I went and spoke to Mr. Vikramasinghe and then the president as well. I said, let me handle this, and that we might able to get the money. And I really worked hard to, we invited some of the investors. There were a lot of investors who wanted to come in and invest on our land. But unfortunately, there were different policies, different thinking, and some of the politicians were pushing it to be given to someone else. So there were different thoughts. That's the time that I had to leave the ministry and stay out of the shipping ministry.
And cricket is a big mess these days. We spoke earlier of the need to get involved in cricket. The recent allegations made by Mahindananda Gamage has made headlines all over the world. Do you think the 2011 Cricket World Cup final was actually fixed?
No, there were a lot of discussions happened after the finals. A lot of issues were raised, a lot of questions mark were raised. But what I felt, it came at the wrong time. If we had enough evidence at that particular time, being the minister, he should have started the inquiries or investigation straight away. Why wait till election comes to come out and talk about something happened 9 or 10 years back? And I still feel that the investigation should have happened in a proper manner. Mahindananda said the cricketers are not involved, the players are not involved. You can't fix a game without players are not involved. So that's a very tricky thing which I am also trying to analyze. How can you fix a game without the players? So if he has enough evidence, whether it is the president or the prime minister or the ministers or the administrators, without cricketers, I'll tell you, it can't be happen. So if I was Mahela or Sangha, I should have told the investigators, like, go ahead, do it, finish it off and clear my name, rather than stopping after two, because there were a lot of crises from the public. I think the government got scared of the public shouting, and that's why they stopped it. I personally feel like if I was Mahel or Sanghakar, I should have told the government, okay, go ahead and do it. If there are enough evidence and if you can prove that, give us punishment. That should be the case. But I think they handle it in a very wrong manner.
So you basically feel that this investigation should continue, it should not stop?
I think they should have, as soon as they started it, I felt that it should have continued and identify the culprits. The problem is if the cricketers are not involved, clear the cricketers, but get told of the culprits. But ultimately, cricketers are getting blamed, and no one is getting the blame on the crisis. I think that is where this particular, I don't know whether it's a show just to get your mind away from some of the issues happened previously, like Karuna's issue and some of the other issues which government did very badly. I think that can be one reason, but it was very bad for Sri Lanka cricket.
Were there attempts made when you were involved in cricket where somebody approached maybe your team to try and fix the game?
Not at all. That's something I always feel. Why not the players, why not the bookies contacted us? I know that there were instances where Aravind was contacted and Sanath was contacted. They straight away informed the management and we handled it in a manner which we never allowed outsiders to get into cricketers. But whenever we get a suspicion, we used to speak to them. We used to educate the children. I can't say children, but my cricketers, we used to educate them. There can be issues. I think that is not happening now. That must be one reason that all these unwanted talks are going around. But our days, we used to educate cricketers. We used to tell them the good, bad, and ugly areas. And to tell you honestly, I was never approached. And when I asked this question from Tony Gregg, late Tony Gregg, what he said, no one will be approaching you knowing who you are. So that was one of the best compliment I got from a past cricketer.
And you spoke about bookies. we know the issues that have been there with certain individuals. Is there a role that you would be looking at maybe in the Sri Lanka Cricket Board?
I don't think I can contest and win. Even if Gotabaya Rajapaksa contests tomorrow, he can't win. It's a mafia which has been created by all these monsters who killed this game. I think when we came into the 1996, no one was very keen on getting into the cricket board. We never had money. The cricket board ran by 4 or 5 people. Now we have what 100 odd people working there, and it's more like a charity organization. People who support you on a vote, they will be benefited. They will be given tours, money, commissions from different things, and it's a mafia which can't be taken off. I personally feel to get cricket right, you need to get an interim committee. You can speak to the ICC. People will say ICC will not agree, but I know for sure if the government take a stand and say we are going to go ahead with the interim committee for a certain time, I will say about 3 years or 4 years, change the constitution, come to a proper election now. We have about 148 votes or 147 votes. Australia has about under 30. England maybe about 25. India being a massive country, still they have about 30 odd votes. So we have 140 odd votes. Some of the clubs which has 2 votes doesn't have a cricket ground or a cricket team. So these are the problem we have faced. Now there were instances where when I was contesting as the president, people started talking to me and asked, what am I going to get? So this is the typical attitude the cricket board election will go through. Whether President Gotabaya or Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa or whoever comes in, they can't win against this mafia.
So will the UNP be looking at, if the UNP wins the parliamentary election, maybe removing the board, installing an interim board and doing some changes?
Tell you honestly, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe was very keen to appoint an interim committee and to try to change the constitution. But the ministers who came into power was captured by these culprits. What they do is they go and invest on a ground belongs to the minister selected. It has happened to all the sports ministers. So that is where that is where they buy them. It's not a bribe, it's so-called official bribe, and ultimately they keep their mouth shut, and the cricket board does whatever they wanted to do. So it's so unfortunate. I think from late 70s that some of these past cricketers, including us, brought cricket into a certain level. We brought cricket and we build teams, but unfortunately it doesn't happen anymore. It's all about money now. No, I think even the players' attitudes have been changed. They are looking at the financial benefit, not getting the glory for the country. So I'm not blaming the players. It's the administration who are looking at money only. It has dragged into the players. So it was so unfortunate.
And one of your former teammates, Muttai Mohidharan, has come openly and supported Vimal Veeravansa, his campaign. What is your take on that?
I think everyone has a right to do whatever they want. I don't want to comment on what other cricketers, they have their own ideas. They must be thinking they are the right people. I'm sure that he will realize the gravity what he has done. Knowing Murali, it is not very easy to get him to a stage, and I have never used any of my players. I never use the cricketers for my own benefits. Otherwise, I could have asked any of these people to come and stand on my stage, which I didn't do because they are a treasure. Now take me. Now I was loved by everyone. When I was with the SLFP, the UNPS didn't like me. Now that I go to the UNP, the other people doesn't like me. But Murali was loved by everyone. Now that he is hated by some of these people, and if he comes into politics, I have no issues at all. Why getting into a stage? So and so. I don't want to comment on that.
But should sportsmen and sportswomen should they get involved in politics? Do you think they are harming their image and they're going more for popularity as opposed to actual ability?
I think the politicians are using the cricketers and the sports people, like even the artists, and people should realize that. And you take some of these politicians who use some of the cricketers and the artists. What has happened after that? So are they involved again? No. They only realize the value of sports people or the artists when it comes to election only. And some of these people spend money, spend things and buy them. But I never used any other cricket. There are cricketers who wants to now, even there are cricketers who have spoken to me, wanted to come and help me on my campaign. I said, you come and go with me, but I don't want you to speak on my stage. But they insist that, some of them. So I always try to push them to a side because they are treasured by this country. They are loved by everyone. Now you take Murali. Murali is hated by some of the other people, and even from the same party, I know most of them who is in the government, and they say, why that particular person? Why there are enough people who Murali can get into stage? Why Murali doesn't come into your stage? I said, I don't want anyone to come into my stage. I win an election by myself. I'm not going to put so and so's photograph to get into power. I don't want Mr. Vikram Singh to be used by me or Sajid to be used by me. It's Arjuna Ranatunga who will be contesting my own things, and if people doesn't want me, I'll stay at home.
Arjuna Ranatunga, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for you. Thank you for joining us.